CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. We have a very special guest, someone I've always wanted to have on CMMS Radio. We are going to meet Andrew Brown, and he has a passion for the skilled trades. He's backing our blue-collar workers, and he is the host of The Lost Art of Skilled Trades. Andrew Brown, welcome to CMMS Radio.
Thanks, Greg, for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch your journey, and I watch that on LinkedIn, and I see a lot of the posts, the videos, and something in the world that I swim around in, which is computerized maintenance management software. It tends to really be focused on maintenance management. So in the middle, we've got maintenance management, maintenance mindset, and what is that always going to hit? It's going to hit skilled trades, left, right, top, bottom. It's a big deal. You're really passionate about it. And what I wanted to do first was kind of talk to you about how the trades really make the world go around. And I often say on the podcast that if maintenance or the trades stopped for like a half day, what would that impact be? And I often say we might not even recover from that. It would do so much damage, so much disruption. So I want to ask you just straight up, how bad is it really when it comes to this skilled trades gap that we're all dealing with?
There's 370,000 welders that are needed by 2028. There's 80,000 electricians that are needed every single year up to 2030. And that's just to replace the electricians that are leaving the industry. Every single industry is hurting, whether it's HVAC, whether it's plumbing, whether it's carpentry. People say certain industries are a dying industry. I don't think the public knows about it. I don't think they realize how bad it is. How expensive is it going to get when something fails on your boiler, your plumbing, your toilet overflows? I was on a podcast last year with Roger Wakefield, who's a very well-known plumber. And he's got a big YouTube channel. And we were talking about this, that it will be in the neighborhood about $100 to $200 an hour to bring a plumber in. And it's going to take weeks. And we're at that tipping point. And we have the chance to pull that back with advocacy. And that's something I do. You know, you spoke about LinkedIn and other platforms that I'm on, podcast. I beat the drum every single day about it. We know about it, but we need to be proactive instead of reactive. So that's why I keep at this every single day, because I feel if I'm not showing up, I'm doing an injustice to the industry and to the skilled trades gap.
And the only way that happens, in my view, whatever that means, is when that passion is so deep and meaningful to you, and you can see these impacts and then start to see the bigger picture and know where to focus. So one of the things that interests me about what you're doing is how this really started for you. And you can go back as far as you want. We always want to get a little bit of the journey story. What brought you into the world of the trades? When did you realize it was something you were passionate about? And have you done the work? And how did this all unfold? Bring us kind of to present day. So go back as far as you want, how this journey really started and got you excited, and then bring us up to today.
September 11, 2001, 23 years old, living in New York City at the time. And the planes had just hit the buildings. And like everyone else, we were, oh my God, what are we going to do? I had a friend in the trade center at the time. Luckily, he got out. But I've always been a doer, Greg. I've always been somebody, I don't like sitting around. I like to do something. I like to help. And I really got this pit in my stomach and a crazy idea. And that's when I called a friend in Rhode Island. And with some convincing back and forth, I said, look, dude, you got to come in here. We have to go down there. We have to help. He's like, we're not going down there. We can't go down there. I was like, we're going down there. So after a couple of days, he comes in and he shows up on my doorstep with a big blue truck with an American flag on the back, and he's dressed up as a tradesperson. And he's got an extra set of overalls and a hard hat for me. And I find myself now with him racing down the West Side Highway. We're going through some checkpoints, and people ask me, well, how do you get through the checkpoints? And I said, well, it's divine intervention. Like something was yanking us down there. Finally, we get down there, we park the car, and now I'm standing on the World Trade Center where it once stood. And I was working with first responders, EMS, firefighters, and back to back with tradespeople. What people don't realize is that tradespeople and emergency workers are sometimes running side by side in the thick of it. And I was watching the tradespeople do all the different pieces and parts of trying to find people, and they were going into unstable structures, and some of them didn't have the right PPE on or the right protection on. You talk about life-changing events, not only personally but professionally. I was a high-tech guy. I was in IT. Look, I knew of skilled trades and plumbers and electricians, but I didn't see it firsthand until when I was down there, that it had such an impact on me that I literally quit a job in IT that I had in New York City at the time. I literally slid my 2 weeks notice in, and then literally for weeks and months, I really had sleepless nights thinking, how do I give back to the people that I saw on site? And that's where I co-founded one of the first online tool and equipment businesses named ToolFetch with my brother. A little over 20 years ago. We're still going strong today. We still love the business, where we provide tools, equipment, and safety training to the skilled trades. So welders, carpenters, plumbers, and other skilled trades. And I always feel these are the men and women who are building and repairing our infrastructure, our bridges and tunnels and our roads. They're not always being recognized. And we give back to them by offering one of the largest online catalogs with over 2 million products. So products like lifts, cement mixers, drain cleaners, products like that. That is my way to give back to the skilled trades and what I saw on 9/11. And that's how I just, I've been doing this for 20 plus years and listening to all the issues about wages, about not being recognized. And I just got fed up. And I was about a year and a half ago, I was like, let me turn on the camera. Let me start talking about all the issues. And I haven't stopped. And I do it every single day. And I advocate for the trades. And that's really my start. And that's how I've continued on in my journey.
And if I recall correctly, you roll every day at 8 a.m. with something related to this so that you can keep that word out there and keep driving this message. So I wanted to ask about something, the stuff I wrote down, I don't know now. So we're just rolling now. This idea behind the skilled trades and the skilled trade gaps. And I think it's as sad as that. I mean, that doesn't even get to the heart of the matter of what we saw, I wasn't even there on the spot. I'm over on the West Coast and we're just shocked, right? But when something grabs your heart, whether it's around an event like that or around something so critical to our day-to-day lives, like I'm saying, yeah, you stop for a half day, it all stops and we're all going to get jammed up like we wouldn't even believe. Where do you think the skilled trades gap is really coming from? And what I'm getting at is, aside from chirping and talking about it all the time, keeping this message out there, are there places where other people can make an impact, such as, and I'm just going to throw an idea out because a buddy of mine and me, we've been talking about this lately. We see in high schools that shop classes have essentially evaporated, and we don't understand it because it made such an impact for us when it comes to the things we know you can do in the world with your hands, with your mind to solve problems. And it's so fulfilling. Do you see that as well, where you're at, the places that you go where high schools no longer have that? And if so, how the heck do we inspire them to bring those back?
What's a shop class, right? When did we decide to take shop class? That was one of the impetuses to the whole trades gap. We started in the 70s and 80s. Like all of a sudden, it started disappearing, right? So started pushing people into 4-year college degrees. Who said that working with your hands is not cool? Who said that? When did we even think that? And the disappearance of shop class over the course of the last couple of decades really kind of set the tone of where is the emphasis going? The emphasis is going to the 4-year degree. And I am not anti-college, I'm pro-college, but for the right person. It's not built for everybody. But once we took that shop class out, imagine if you have that technical spark or that mechanical ability, really good with your hands, and you don't go into a shop class. Sometimes you bypass that. Maybe you don't even have anybody in your family who's in the trades, and you just get pushed into the system. And then you come out with debt, right? And then you get a subpar job, and then you're not making enough money. And then you buy a house, and then you get more debt. What happens to that individual that could have gone a trades route because he or she could have used their hands? And there's so many different examples of this. From career exploration, I don't see a guidance counselor sitting down and be like, you're really good with your hands. You thought about being a plumber? Does that conversation ever happen? Slim to none. And I think that's the miss, what's been happening, especially in our schools. It's not completely gone. There are some school systems that still have shop class there, and I feel there's a higher percentage. If you get a younger individual working with their hands at a younger age, you have a higher percentage of possibly them working with their hands later on. You also need to get around parents. Now, the younger individual could be, wow, I really want to be an HVAC, or I really want to be a welder. Sometimes the parents are like, whoa, wait, you want to work with your hands? We want you to go to college. We want you to get a white collar job, which is not necessarily bad, but you're now pushing that individual who's really happy working with their hands to go into something they're not happy with. And we see a lot of that as well. So the messaging to the parents and teachers and guidance counselors. On my foundation, the Skilled Trades Advisory Council, we work with many different organizations, and we're trying to unite sort of the industry and eventually give scholarships to kids. We have a woman by the name of Kate Cimino, and she works for Explore the Trades. And you can't see in the background here, but I have these posters, and it shows the path of a plumber, path of HVAC, the path of the trades. Her organization sends those all around the country into schools, and it's free. You get these posters, and guidance counselors can put that up in their offices, and then kids can be interested. Those are the initiatives that you need to do, and that's what you need to push, because otherwise it's out of sight, out of mind. You're not even thinking about it as a younger
It's
individual. So all these different aspects, led up to this skilled trades gap, among some other things.
it's so interesting that you brought up Explore the Trades, because I recently got connected with them, and I'm gonna try to figure out some kind of a way to work with them. And they're actually in my home state. I don't live there anymore, but what's really interesting about that is, while you're talking and you're describing this, I'm thinking back to when I was in high school or even junior high. By the time where I grew up, by the time we're in junior high, there are a ton of us, friends or not, that are doing all kinds of stuff that have things to do with the trades or potentially getting into the trades. So you're growing up, and your buddy's dad is working on the roof, and your buddy's working on the roof. And instead of you guys hanging out, you're working on the roof with them, and you're getting exposed to this. And in our schools, like I say, like junior high and high school, we've got these things like, and this, I'm talking like mid 80s, right? You got auto shop, you got metal shop, you got woodworking shop, and then you've got some other classes that might not be pure trades related, but things that are kind of guiding you towards that, because it wasn't looked down upon. It was actually looked at with this sense of pride that we all know, like in America, there's this American pride for the tradesman. And when I say tradesman, I'm talking about the tradesperson, but I like the kind of old school tradesman as the name. Women and men that are out there welding, fixing the dents on cars. I mean, heck, I used to skip classes in high school, and I would tell the teachers, the class that I was skipping, that if I'm ever not here, I'm probably in auto shop. I want to see what they're doing. I don't care about this class. So one of my instructors said, well, all right, if that's the case, and you squeak by here, I'm bringing my car so you can do my brakes. I said, okay, go and do it. So what's cool about this conversation is that's where I think it really happens. We got to get out there and keep talking about it and go to these high schools. So we're going to try to do something later this year, my friend and I, and see if we can go to some of the local schools here in Orange County, California, and talk about this stuff and see if somebody's inspired, and then try to put together like sponsors that want to create these apprenticeships. Do you think this idea of like in high school career days that it would be helpful for high schools to bring someone like you in just to talk to even a small student body or set of parents about why this is such an incredible option? Because it's really rewarding for the people I know that are in skilled trades. I wanted to get your opinion on that.
So I had the opportunity a couple months ago to speak with over 300 students at a technical school in Paramus, New Jersey. And I was actually speaking with the keynote speaker was Jamie McMillan. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's an iron worker out of Canada, and she does excellent work out there. We met a couple different times. I've heard her speak. She is a dynamic speaker, and she's doing wonderful things with women and getting them into the skilled trades. And she was speaking there, and she's like, "Why don't you come with me?" Yeah, sure. And I spoke to the kids, and I was in front of them for a handful of minutes, but it was electrifying. Or trying to the way it's really funny. I said to my kids who were younger, I said, "How do I connect with a younger audience? What do I need to talk about?" They said, "You got to talk about games and in iPads and cell phones." So I made a connection between what if your Roblox or your Fortnite went out and who's supporting it, right? It's people in the skilled trades. So I made this connection. It was a really funny conversation.
Yeah.
But that's how you try to get into the minds of younger individuals. You need to connect with them and need to find their motivators. But I sort of brought it back that um, it's all supported by the skilled trade. So when I was there with Jamie after the speech, we spent the entire day walking around from every single department. We were in construction, we were in just trying to think where else we were at. Healthcare. We were in the IT department. We were in all these different departments, and seeing these kids' faces. This is the next generation of skilled tradespeople, and they were excited to build with their hands. And each one of them, a lot of them came from blue collar backgrounds that their parents were in the skilled trades, and they're following suit. That's on the technical side. Now, what you're asking about is more just into a high school. I am 100% in agreement with that. Whether it's me directly doing a motivational speech about the skilled trades at some sort of trades fair, that's one aspect. But the other is bringing in people in the trades who've been in the trades for a while to show kids exactly what the ladder of success is. The other thing that I've seen that is really helpful that kids get excited about is VR. It is one thing to talk about it, but to see it, they put on the whole gear and they're working with their hands. And I've seen this with welding and other aspects. Like for instance, here's a perfect example. When I was at the FabTech show last year, which is more of a welding show, and the American Welding Society has this massive trailer there, and I volunteer with them. I do some social media work, and they have about 6 Lincoln Electric virtual machines. And to see these kids virtually weld, they were super excited. One, you're playing a video game. Two, it got them interested in maybe working with their hands. That's how you get kids interested, on top of the motivational speeches, but bringing in people who are successful and also people who have just gone through trade school, who are a few years out, who are doing very well. They can relate to that individual who's a little bit older and say, wow, it is possible to be successful as well. So there's a handful of different aspects that you can bring to this to really make an impact to these younger kids.
Yeah, and I'm really passionate about it, and I think for a lot of people, there was this little idea, like some of the people I was talking about, like that I'm going to have you on the show, or I might have somebody that's kind of a one-off, and we're not talking about maintenance management software per se, but we are talking about maintenance management. And what's important for me that everybody understands is these individuals right now that are going to be leaving the trades, they're retiring, they're going to do their thing. They've worked these kind of hard yet fulfilling lives doing this difficult work. It connects to maintenance management because these are the people that end up in your plants, in your facilities, in your schools, in your stadiums, in your, you name it, it's connected. The people that are doing the welding, by the way, on welding alone, as far as what somebody can earn out there and how much satisfaction they get about doing something right. I've talked to people that are boilermakers and I said, how did this all start? Well, my dad owned the business. And I said, so you were just in there? He's like, nope, I had to go through all the training and I had to lay down a bead and go through all this and get this certification. And it's so intricate. But what I notice, so I'm kind of switching this up, a little mention of the maintenance management, but when you work in the trades and you do stuff with your hands, HVAC, welding, like I said, boilermakers, or somebody that works on an actual, what would we call that, where you've got a refinery, but there's tons of boilermakers there that are keeping things running so that they don't break, or when they do break, they can do immediate responses. They make really big money, but you mentioned something about how satisfied they are with what they do. They seem to have this interest and desire to work hard, but also play hard. They do great things with their families. They go camping. They have all these things that are really connected. So I wanted to ask, how's somebody present this to parents so that they can kind of cross that chasm with, oh, you got to get the 4-year degree and you got to be a doctor or a lawyer or even an IT person, and kind of open their minds to the fact that this is okay for their kid if they're interested in, stuff like this.
I think you need to get around, and this is the typical response is the old adage that why are you going to go in the trades and work with your hands? You also have parents who come home who do work with their hands and say, I'm working hard so you don't have to work with your hands. There's a lot of that as well.
Hmm.
Some people go into their family's business, their blue collar, and they just kind of follow suit. Or some of them just like, I don't want to do that. I've seen my uncle, my father struggle, and I just don't want to do that. And that might not be for them. And that's okay. They don't have to follow that. I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out exactly what you want to do. From a parent's perspective, they also need to see what are the earnings. So when you look at a trades path and you look at college, and I don't think I have to tell you how much college costs. And I'm already computing in my head, I have young kids, what it's going to cost in the next 10 years. God, I mean, even my financial advisor is like, you need to start saving for college. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe college is not the best fit for my kids. And maybe it is. I don't know yet. They're still young. But I think sitting down and running sort of the numbers and saying, okay, well, it's going to cost $80,000 to $100,000 to go to school, and then when you come out, maybe you're only making $40,000, $50,000, maybe if you could find a job in this
Yep.
market,
Yep.
compared to a trade school, which is a quarter of the price, and there's less time, and you're earning and you're learning, right? You need to weigh that out. And there's a bunch of graphs out there, and they say over a course of a period of time, the difference of what you can make with a degree versus a non-degree or a blue
Hmm.
collar background. Sometimes it's like this, when you go that route in the trades route, because you don't have all that debt that you've invested into the 4-year college degree. So I think looking at how long it's going to take to pay that back, what the debt is, because once you sign on that dotted line for that loan, that's it. It's going to follow you. I
Yep.
don't think kids really understand what what's behind that. And I never had a choice as a young kid. My parents said, go to college. I was like, okay. I didn't know. I really didn't know any different. And I always say this, but I came out more lost out of college than when I was in college. and I changed my major 4 or 5 times, right? And no one gave me a direction when I was there. I partied, I did my thing, and most kids do that when they're out of college.
Yeah.
Um, but going back to parents, I think it's getting them the right information. It's like having these posters from Explore the Trades that I have hanging up around here off screen, and showing what it looks like over the next handful of years, how many years that you have to invest in, and what is the investment into trade school and getting an apprenticeship, and what it takes to get to a certain level. I think explaining all that to parents will be or keep more of an open mind for them. And you're not going to get everybody who's going to be like, yeah, I get it, and I'm sending my kid to trade school. Some of them just be like, it's just not for me. But the more conversations that you have and sort of discussing what that path looks like, the higher percentage of parents will be like, yeah, okay, I totally get it. I feel comfortable with this. But in the end of the day, your your kid needs to be comfortable with what they're doing, not what you want them to do. So you need to look at that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point that you make there, where, now we're getting into this idea of like parenting and cultivating, what you see, rather than trying to, hey, I want them to do what I do. I want my kid to, you're a lawyer, you want your kid to be a lawyer. That's all fine and good if they're into it. But if they're not, I mean, you gotta explore that. You gotta let them kind of become who and what they are. That's your job. Like a parent is like the ultimate leader. Your job is to enable, empower, and all that. You protect them, but you set them up so that they can protect themselves. And one thing I wanted to point out about the skilled trades and going into these areas for everyone out there, this is just my observation, nowhere near the same expertise that you have, but if you think about our infrastructure, because this is something we also talk about in the world of CMMS and maintenance management overall, asset management, all this infrastructure is degraded. So if anybody's wondering, will there be work tomorrow when we're in the skilled trades? I could show you a few bridges out there somewhere across the United States that are definitely going to need work. So you're going to have to understand all that. And you might have civil engineers and other types of engineers, and you've got the people in the technology that are all driving that process, but there's people there doing the work. And that's a real thing. So many people that I know in the skilled trades that do this kind of work, even in maintenance management, maintenance and reliability, reliability engineers, those types of individuals, they get so much satisfaction, and you can see it, you can feel it. It's in their voice. They know how to work together. They know how to get past bullshit and not get stuck. And they're doing something that makes an impact every single day. And I think that's almost like a mic drop. They're making an impact every single day in the skilled trades, whether you're at your company putting in work orders, completing work orders, doing preventive maintenance, keeping these assets running really, really well so they don't break, or you're going to, Mrs. Jones' house and fixing her air conditioner when it broke on a day that's 110 degrees. It's fulfilling, it's satisfying, it makes a difference. And I think that stuff really, really matters. I think you would agree. Um, what are you excited about right now? Right now, when it comes to this overall idea of the skilled trades, gaining a little bit of momentum each day for people to start paying attention. What are you most excited about?
Well, I wanted to go back to your question because you hit on the infrastructure, and I just wanted to drive in a point to your audience and people that are listening. We have a C minus infrastructure rating. How do you get to an A plus if nobody wants the job? And that comes down to that's a PR thing. It's a PR issue for the trades. We're spending trillions of dollars on infrastructure, but where is the money on the messaging side to get the people into the trades, right? You had talked about the fulfillment and the sense of accomplishment. I never met a tradesperson who was like, hey, you know what? I built that, and I built that, and I built that. They love that. And what you said about fixing someone's AC when it's hot or it's cold or the power goes out and it's the linemen, going up there on the bucket trucks and fixing. there's a sense of fulfillment and this excitement. Of course, the lineman job is not for everybody. Touching 15,000, volts is not for everybody, but it's exciting, and you can make a lot of money on top of that. So I've heard that time and time again, and this is why I like to spot different tradespeople and sharing these success stories. But they're excited to talk about what they've done with their hands. There's something about repairing something or building something with your hands. There's such a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment, and you don't necessarily get that from other careers. And I never really met an unhappy tradesperson who didn't say that I fixed or I built something.
Yeah. I I get that sense too. If somebody, whether it's at the house or at the office or one of the past things, I was in building maintenance for many years prior to being in the CMMS space. So I'm dealing with the customers that are happy about the work that's being done, and I'm dealing with the people that are doing the work. And some of my favorite people to interact with were chief building engineers and a lot of the HVAC people. And because these are some common things, I mean, especially in Southern California, you get problems constantly, and they're not a complaint. They're just like, what is it? Let's find out. And they'll sit there and walk you through what they're doing and show you what they're doing. Most of the time that's what it is. So I'm always there, especially now, thanking them for what they do. And I will ask them, hey, how did you get into this? And sometimes it's, well, my dad or my family. Other times it's, well, I did this and I went to the military. And in the military, we get heavy exposure to certain approaches to maintenance. And then they come out and they're, like heavy equipment mechanics, and they do these awesome repairs. One of my friends that comes on CMMS radio sometimes is a gentleman by the name of Brian Bieski. He's a certified maintenance and reliability professional with a maintenance background. And we talk about this stuff all the time. I mean, the passion runs deep. It's not fake. It's not even close to fake. They're just all about it. And we could go on and on like that. Another thing that I think is really cool is there's people out there telling the story of the trades through visual storytelling. I've got another friend. He owns Rising Eagle Media. His name's Jake Bailey, and he's creating and cultivating, curating these great stories for people. If they're in the trades, he wants to go and see and tell that story in a way that nobody can, because it matters. There's these aha moments. I want to switch to the fun question segment and just get to know you a little bit for everybody out there. Number
Sure.
one, what is your favorite music?
It depends. It depends. If I am working out, it's going to be some sort of house music or dance music or even Rocky.
All right.
Gets me in the mood. But if I'm just kind of relaxing, jazz I enjoy, or it could be pop. So I like a lot
Nice.
of different types of music.
Nice. Eclectic. I get it. I like that. I dig that. The next one is, and we could probably guess, but I'm going to ask anyway. What is your favorite sport or hobby? And on sport, it could be one that you just observe and support. Doesn't have to be one that you play or played. Favorite sport or hobby?
Tennis. So I'm an avid tennis player, and it's actually getting warmer out, so I'll be outside in clinics, usually on the weekends. So I like actually watching U.S. Open and Wimbledon and following the different players out there. But I also like to watch football as well. My son's a big football fan. He's a Dolphin fan. I'm a Chiefs fan, but the Chiefs won anyway, so I got
Yeah.
to get a good chuckle with him.
There you go. Yeah, it makes for fun anyway. If it's different teams, you get a little banter going and all that kind of stuff. Now, here's the big one. Very interested in what you have to say about this. There are no wrong answers. What is your philosophy, perspective, or approach to work-life balance?
I think everybody's different. Some people like to work all the time. Some people don't like to work all the time. There is a balance of both. And I think over the last handful of years, I was able to now balance both. It's one, obviously, being a CEO. I also do a lot of advocacy. I also do foundation work. I also do a lot of social media. It's a lot of different things that I'm doing. But I've been smarter with my time in that I designate certain hours to social media or foundation work, where before I was just kind of bouncing back and forth like a ping pong, like just bong, 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 back and forth. And I felt like it was too much. So as I get older, I got a little bit more wiser with my time, that I sort of chunk my time, that I kind of set a certain period of time in my day to do XYZ task, where years prior, I would just go from thing to thing and I just felt like I was always working. So I think the work-life balance is different for everybody. Family is extremely important to me, and I put that first, even before work. I mean, family is everything. I also put my health up there as well. Health is wealth. But I love spending time with my family, going on vacation, and being a part of my kids' lives. As they get older, they don't necessarily want to be with their parents. It's just a fact of life. So I want to soak up everything in while they're young. So I take a big part in their lives. And I set time for, what I'm passionate about with the skilled trades. And I speak on stage, and I'm always either doing a podcast or I'm on my podcast. That's a passion and a mission for me. Or I'm just, I'm working day to day in my CEO role. But I love everything I do. And I've been able to balance that over the last handful of years. I've gotten better at it.
Nice. Nice. Well, I want to make sure everyone knows how to find you, get in touch with you. So everyone, please check out Andrew's podcast. It's called The Lost Art of Skilled Trades. The Lost Art of Skilled Trades. That's his podcast. You can also find Andrew on LinkedIn. It's Andrew Brown. That's Andrew. Last name Brown, just like the color, Brown. And remember his technology company that he and his brother founded to really make an impact and a difference for people that are in the trades, safety equipment, other things that they might need, parts, et cetera, et cetera. It's a tool fetch, and you can find that at www.toolfetch.com, toolfetch.com, toolfetch.com. Andrew, thank you for finally coming on CMMS Radio. It was awesome to meet you and talk about some of this stuff. We might do it again someday. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.